Welcome to Road to Recovery.
Welcome to Road to Recovery, advocacy and insights for trucking accidents with Sagi Shaked. I'm Kevin Rosenquist. Thanks for being here. So Sagi is a founder of Shaked Law Personal Injury Lawyers and is ranked as one of the top 100 trial lawyers in the United States by the American Trial Lawyers Association. With a wealth of experience in personal injury, wrongful death, and complex litigation cases, he passionately advocates for victims and has recovered multi-million-dollar settlements in damages for his clients. Sagi, great to see you again.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. Look forward to the podcast here.
All right. Well, this podcast that you speak of, we're going to talk about filing a trucking accident claim. We're going to do kind of a step-by-step guide. So let's start at the beginning. What are the initial steps you should take immediately after a trucking accident?
Okay. So if you're involved in a trucking accident, number one is first, if you can, document the scene. Obviously, sometimes people get horrifically injured. They can't document the scene, so they should hire a lawyer who specializes in truck accidents like myself, so they can go out to the scene where you would get an investigator, an accident reconstruction expert, a human factors expert, and a photographer. And the reason I say photographer, because sometimes people go out there with their iPhone, and while the iPhone takes good pics, a professional photographer can pick up a lot more of what's going on in the scene. But always, number one, the lawyer should be going out to the scene to see what there is to see. So number one, call a lawyer, get to the scene, and have the lawyer go out there with their experts, because you want to preserve the scene. You want to see if there's video cameras, there's witnesses. So those are the first things what I would do is say, call a lawyer right away.
What immediate actions are crucial for protecting your legal rights?
So if you're in a truck accident, if you're hurt, I would say go to the hospital. I'm not a doctor, so I can't give you medical advice, but I would say go to the hospital is number one. And then to protect your case, you got to do what the insurance companies do and the trucking companies. So they know as soon as there's a crash, the first phone call the person makes before calling 911, the truck driver calls the risk management department. Why do they do that? Because they want their team out there ASAP to go and protect their money. What do I mean? They're going out there with their accident reconstruction expert, with their human factors expert, with their professional photographers, with their lawyer. Within usually 30 to 40 minutes, no matter where this crash occurs, they get a team out there to protect their case, protect the claim, which means to help ensure that their money's protected. So if they're doing that and you're not, you're already behind the eight ball. So I would say, just like the insurance company does in protecting their money, you need someone out there to protect your case and make sure your case is moving in the right direction, to make sure evidence is preserved.
So assuming the person's, the plaintiff or the person not in the truck is not horribly injured and is able to, document the scene in some way, like what are the best ways for them to document the scene that helps you the most later on?
So immediately, let's say you're at the scene and you're hurt, but you're not catastrophically hurt, or you have family members with you or friends, take photographs. Take as many photographs as you can, not just of your vehicle, but also of the truck. And take from many different angles and make sure that it's not just a photograph of a bumper that has nothing to do with anything else. You want to show what did the crash look like before the officers get there, after the officers get there, what do the cars look like before, what do the cars look like afterwards, before they move them, if the cars are on a tow truck, a full 360 of the vehicle. So if you're basically standing up, so let's say this is a watch is here, I would start at 12, then go to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. So I would go all the way around the car and take pictures of both the truck and the car. You never know what might be helpful in finding out about the crash or sometimes about the truck driver. So we found different things about truck drivers. For example, we found what they call logo liability, which is where we were able to find a different person at fault, a broker, because of what was taken at the scene, the pictures at the scene. We were able to find out who the broker was and get to it. So if the person doesn't take photos, that may be something that will be harder to discover because the insurance company is not going to give us the best photos. They're going to give us the most favorable photos for them. That's why we want to get out there right away. Another thing that we would do is there's black box data or a data recorder, they call it. So that needs to be preserved and the data needs to be taken out from the data recorder because that'll tell us a lot of things.
You want to probably talk to your insurance provider too at some point. When is the right time to do that? And what should you say? Shouldn't you say? How should you handle that call?
So yeah, as soon as you're in a crash, you definitely want to call your insurance company. I would first speak to a lawyer before calling your insurance company because the way the insurance companies work, they want you to put them on notice right away. And usually there's like a 14-day grace period before you can put them on notice. But so you'd want to have first speak with your lawyer. The insurance company, what they do is as soon as you call them, they want to get a recorded statement. This is like their 101 standard operating procedure. You call, we're going to get a recorded statement of what happens. So they're recording you without you having the right of a lawyer present, without you having the right to see all the evidence, to see the video, to see everything. So I would say first, get a lawyer and then wait and see all the evidence. Because sometimes what happens is people, they lose consciousness at the scene or they have a brain injury. They don't necessarily know what happened. So they shouldn't be saying what happens. They should leave it to the other witnesses to talk about and not guess what happens. I'd rather someone who's, had a brain injury and doesn't remember the accident, just tell the truth and say, I don't remember. If they don't remember. Don't make up stuff. People tend to want to make stuff up when they don't remember. They fill in their memory gaps, and that's not good for your case. Always stick to the truth. If you don't remember what happened, it's okay to say, I don't remember. It's also okay to say, hey, I'm going to hire a lawyer. Wait until we speak to my lawyer before you go out there and give a statement. So that's what I would say. As soon as you're in a crash, you can call the insurance company, but don't do it without your lawyer present and without gathering the information. And again, if you lost consciousness or you have a head injury, it's okay to say you don't remember how the crash occurred. You can talk about what you do remember, but don't make stuff up. We stick to the truth.
Yeah, that's interesting. Filling in the gaps. I totally know what you mean. We've all done it. Like just in telling stories with our friends or family, and you just like, yeah, I think it was this or that or this. And you just, that's whatever. But yeah, you don't want to do that in a situation like that because if it's not 100% the truth, you could say something that's incriminating.
Right. And then the story just changes. Mm-hmm. And sometimes people embellish and the story becomes different over time. And that's when you get yourself in trouble, right? Because the evidence is completely different than the story. Mm-hmm. And so people making up stuff is not a good idea. That's why I always say, let's get the evidence. Let's figure out what happened, and then you tell your story. And same thing with defendants. Their story changes all the time too. And so they should wait to get the evidence, but they speak to their insurance companies. And if they do, we want to get that statement for our benefit when we represent the client.
So that also kind of leads into talking to the police. So the police report obviously is an important part of any case like this. What role does that play specifically when filing a trucking accident claim, and how should you handle the questions from the police officers?
So generally what happens is, you get into a crash and the police generally 99% of the time are not witnesses to the crash. So they're going to come and you have to tell them what happened, be truthful about telling them what happened, and they'll put together a report. And I'd say in almost every state in the United States, that police report is not going to be admissible in a trial court. In trial, really? It's not admissible, right?
I did not know that.
Yeah, because the police, they didn't witness the crash. So they're acting as if they're the jury. They're making a decision as to who gets the ticket, who doesn't get the ticket, the traffic citation. A lot of times when we're in trial, the juries want to know, did the at-fault party get a traffic citation? That's never coming into evidence. We're not allowed to talk about it. The judge forbids us because the law forbids us. So we can't tell the jury who got the traffic citation. In fact, we can't even tell the jury what the people involved in the accident said to the police officer because there's what they call an accident report privilege, which means whatever you tell the cop is privileged. And the reason they have that privilege is they want people to be honest with the police. Tell them what you know so the police can make determinations And then basically they take those police reports. And then in our case, the Florida Department of Highway Safety and Motor Vehicles will look at all those police reports. Where are they having the most amount of vehicle collisions and crashes? Because there's something might be wrong with the lighting, or there might be something wrong with the roadway, and they want to fix that so they don't have more collisions. So that's the purpose of telling the police officer that. Now, if you're under criminal investigation because you were driving drunk, totally different, about whether you speak to the officer or not. I'm not a criminal defense lawyer. I don't know what to advise people. I would probably tell them speak to a criminal defense lawyer in that situation. But if you didn't do anything wrong, you speak to the officer. Because once they turn it over to a criminal investigation, anything you say can and will be held against you in a court of law. We've all heard that on TV.
Sure.
So that's a little different. So I'm not giving any advice on the criminal aspect. I'm giving advice on, civil, which means we're suing for money damages.
I didn't know that about the police report. I don't think we've talked about that before, or I forgot. But I didn't realize that because that could be obviously something that someone could say, hey, you said this to the police, but now you're saying this. But
yeah, that would never come in. It's just never admissible. It's very, very difficult to get the statement you tell the police. Now, if you are a witness to the crash and you make a statement to the police, that could be admissible. But the people involved in the collision, those statements are not admissible.
Okay. So back to insurance, what types of insurance coverage might apply in a trucking accident?
Yeah, that's a great question. So when we talk about insurance in a truck accident or in a vehicle accident, generally, let's say the truck's at fault, the truck will have what's called bodily injury coverage. And usually what you'll see with most trucks is about $750,000 to $1 million. And then some trucks have more, depending on the companies. If you're talking like Amazon or FedEx or UPS, those are big companies, they'll have a lot more than $1 million. But if you have a truck that we'll call like a mom and pop type of company, they may only have one truck. They may only have $1 million worth of coverage. So then you have to look at different layers. Where can we get different insurance coverage? Did the broker who hired the mom and pop, did they know that the mom and pop, doesn't have the experience, or maybe the mom and pop has issues with narcotics or alcohol or not enough experience or sleep apnea? Who knows what the issues are, but that needs to be investigated. So one thing is, does the truck driver have insurance and how much insurance? Now, another important thing you can look at is if you're in a vehicle, do you have what they call coverage? What that means is uninsured motorist coverage, otherwise sometimes known as underinsured motorist coverage. And so what does that mean? This is critical to understand. So if you're driving on a roadway, let's not use a truck, for example, because most trucks have insurance coverage, bodily injury coverage.
Sure.
So let's assume you're involved in a crash and the person that caused the crash has no insurance. You can sue them and you may get something like this, a piece of paper, and that piece of paper says you got a judgment, they owe you $1 million or $10 million, but you'll never collect because the person that caused the crash can't even afford to buy insurance. So what do you do in those scenarios? You can use your uninsured motorist coverage to pay you for your injuries. So what happens? The uninsured motorist, the company, the insurance company, steps into the shoes of the at-fault driver. So they become the at-fault driver. And whatever you can recover from the at-fault driver, from the uninsured motorist, that's what you would get from your insurance company. So let's say the person that caused the crash has zero insurance and you have uninsured motorist of $100,000. You can sue up to $100,000. Now, it depends. Every state is different, right? So let's say the at-fault party has only $25,000 in insurance, but you have a really bad injury and you want to use your uninsured motorist coverage. So remember, it's uninsured or underinsured. Did the person that caused the crash, was that person uninsured or underinsured? So if they're underinsured and your injuries are more, let's say, than $25,000, then you can go after your own insurance company for that underinsured driver's negligence. So it's critical for anyone driving on the road. If you're hearing this, it's critical that you purchase uninsured motorist coverage. And as much as you can, because I can tell you week in and week out, we see people, we hear this. I mean, people call our office and every week, at least 2 to 3 times a week, I have to tell people, I'm sorry, I can't help you. The person that caused the crash has no insurance and you don't have uninsured motorist coverage. So there's no one for me to sue. Now that you can still sue the person in small claims court and get some money out of it if you can recover from them. But again, think about it. If they don't have money to even purchase car insurance, how in the world are they going to pay you for your injuries? I've been in situations where clients, unfortunately, cases where people have died, and I don't even know what to tell the families. It's the saddest thing. There's nothing I can do for them. We can go sue the driver who caused the crash, but again, where are you going to collect from? You'll have a piece of paper that says they owe you money, but that's it. So it's important, super important. If you get anything out of this podcast, go purchase Uninsured Motorist. If you're not sure what kind of coverage you have, feel free to contact our office and we'll walk you through the different types of coverages and what you need. But if you ask your insurance agent, do I have uninsured motorist coverage? They should tell you. And if not, you can go on the app on your phone. It doesn't matter what insurance company you have. It'll tell you on your phone if you have uninsured motorist coverage or if you don't. If you rejected it, you need to purchase it because it will protect you in a situation where you have a driver that's not at fault. Does that make sense what I said?
Yeah, no, it totally makes sense. And I know I have that. I mean, I think when you have, at least I think here in Colorado, when you have a car loan, you have to have full coverage, complete full coverage. So I think that's included. Or
some people tell me they have full coverage. And then when we look at their insurance coverages, they don't have uninsured motorists. Now, some states...
Let me write this down. Check with insurance.
Yeah. So some states require insurance companies to sell uninsured motorist coverage. In Florida, there is no such requirement. They can reject it. So you want to check, do you have uninsured motorist and how much do you have? Because you got to think about the worst case scenario. What if someone smashes into you, changes your life, and now it's hard for you to work? How are you going to pay your mortgage? How are you going to pay your car? How are you going to pay any of your bills for your kids, for yourself? How do you pay any of that? How do you afford food if you don't have an avenue to recover? So make sure you have uninsured motorists and you have ample amount to protect yourself in case you're involved with a crash with someone who doesn't have insurance. And it happens every week. I'm telling you, every week we get these cases and we don't know what to do with them. It's a tough phone call to handle for a client, especially when they have really bad injuries or some family member has died.
Yeah, not a lot of accidents involving billionaires with no insurance, right?
Doesn't happen. It doesn't happen.
Never, ever?
I haven't had the experience of having someone who has a lot of money that has their insurance lapse or didn't have insurance. It just doesn't happen often. I haven't seen it. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but you don't want to, wait for that situation.
You want to test those waters?
1 in 20 million. You want to basically protect yourself just in case stuff happens. And then certain insurance companies are better than others, but that's for a different day. And that could be, a 5-hour podcast as we go through different claims with different insurance companies. But the best bet is let's get uninsured motorists, make sure you're protected just in case something happens. And at least you'll have some form of, avenue to recover. And then just so you know, once the insurance company pays you, they'll go and sue that person, the uninsured person. They don't care. They'll get a judgment and they'll continue to collect. It may take them 30 years, but the insurance company is a corporation. They're going to be around forever.
They've got time.
So they're willing to take $5 a month for the next 30 years, where we don't really want to deal with $5 a month because that's what people can afford. So protect yourself from other people's negligence. Get uninsured motorist coverage.
Great advice as always. Well, thanks for tuning in to Road to Recovery, Advocacy and Insights for Trucking Accidents with Sagi Shaked. For more information or to connect with Sagi, visit shakedlaw.com. That's SHAKED law.com. And don't forget to like and subscribe. Thanks, Sagi. Really appreciate all those insights.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.